Our goal hasn't changed since 2009. We support, promote, engage, and inspire the arts community by igniting the ghost light that shines on the stages of the up-and-coming, the unsung heroes, the brilliant writers, and the dynamic designers. Stay tuned. Rep Radio is on the air.
Welcome to Rep Radio. I'm your host, Darnell Radford, and today I am in the rehearsal space at Azuka Theater Company, and we're here to talk about the upcoming production of Warplay, which was written by J.C. Lee and directed by Kevin Glaccum. And we will do some introductions with who's in the room.
Yeah. Hello. I'm Jeff Gorcyca. I'm playing A in the play, which is Achilles.
Mm-hmm.
My name is James Kern. I'm playing P, or Patroclus.
And I'm Kevin Glaccum. I'm the director.
And we got Kevin in here. So welcome to Rep Radio.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's your first time. And Kevin, welcome back, of course. and welcome back to America.
Yeah, thank you.
Being that this is your first time on Rep Radio, tell us a little bit about yourselves.
Well, I started theater when I was young, fell in love with it in high school, and then shied away from studying it in my undergrad, and actually went into radio, which we were just talking about.
Yeah.
And I, in Wilmington, Delaware, on WCW and WDEL, I worked with them. And then I got the theater bug again, and went to grad school, and was like, I'm going to study this, I'm going to get good at it, and make this my career. And now here I am,
In the best
taking any
theater
job I can.
community
Yeah.
in the country.
Totally.
The best theater community, for sure.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, that was so succinct and good. Okay. I was born into the theater. Literally, I had parents in the theater, so I grew up in the green room. But I was always sort of discouraged away from it, so it was always a matter of, like, do anything but that. And at 5 years old, I got my first drum set, and I actually pursued that. I went to University of the Arts, and I got my degree in drumming. And then I got bit by the theater bug. It was my mom's fault, too. She sent me to do a summer class. So I did the summer class and had a wonderful time. And then I sort of pursued both theater and music overlapping. And I came to the realization that theater is what I want to do, and I want to keep music close to myself. That's not something that I feel comfortable sort of making money about.
Mm-hmm.
That's more personal for me. So theater, though, on the other hand, is I could do under any circumstance. It was a very strange phenomenon. And the community. I mean, Jeff mentioned it, but the community. I've grown up in the Philadelphia theater community, and they're just I'm not trying to pull anyone's chain here. They're just lovely people. And so I went away to graduate school 3 years ago. I'm just now returning, and Kevin has blessed me with the opportunity to be here at Azuka.
Great.
Yeah.
All right. So let's get into it. Let's talk about Warplay. Tell us what it's about.
Man, so I have whenever I try to explain this is how I say it.
Perfect.
So then I'd love to hear the way you
horribly,
describe
so
it. But what I always say is that it's a retelling of the Achilles Patroclus myth, but it's set in modern times, and that's like the most general way I would describe it. I don't know. Do you think that's too simple?
Well, I've said that, but then people are like, who the fuck is Patroclus?
Yeah.
That's totally fair.
Then they go to Wikipedia and they don't
so
have
who
much
are
help
these
either.
people?
Yeah, it's too much. It's too much for them. I guess I say something similar. It's this rendition of it's the most important person in Achilles' life that you've never heard of.
Oh, it's perfect.
And it's their love story.
Yeah.
Cool.
And so, what were your first thoughts of this piece, and how much did you know about Achilles and Patroclus?
It took me like a long time to get.
Yeah, I know. I was looking at it in my notes. I'm like
Patroclus.
Yeah.
Yeah, like,
It's Is that part of the warm-ups? Just say
Yeah.
You gotta say the name
Patroclus,
3
Patroclus.
times.
Yeah, exactly.
What were your first thoughts of the piece when you read it?
I was away. I was abroad actually when I was given the opportunity to audition for this on my honeymoon, of all places. And I remember I ran into Kevin and he told me that he was thinking about me for the character of A. Take a look at this. And so I went back and read it, and I was like, I don't know. I feel like maybe I'm more P. And then on the audition day, I said, no, I'm more A. Honestly, I think the thing that's so great about it is it's so human in so many ways that you can align yourself with each one of these characters, male or female, in any moment or time, because it really is about navigating vulnerability and the sort of demons that we have to walk with, that we inherit from the sins of our fathers and everything like that. There's a lot of that, and that was what sort of resonated for me initially was that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And Kevin had reached out to me, and I got the full play, and I read the whole thing, and then he had said, hey, so we're looking at both Achilles and Patroclus for you. Or did I say it wrong again?
Patroclus.
Goodness gracious.
Patroclus.
You think I wasn't in it.
That's why he said A. That's why he said
A and P.
There's somebody listening right now. By the end, they're going to be like, Patroclus. Jeez.
They're going to know now, too, which is good.
But similarly to you, I was like, I'm looking at both, but one is drawing me more, and it was Achilles for me.
Yeah.
And I came in, and I remember I read for Achilles, and then I was like waiting. I was actually waiting for Kevin to then say, okay, now it's time for P. But that never happened. He was just like, no, we're actually going to see you for another scene for A. And I was like, okay, so this is in my body already, and yeah, that was my experience with the audition process. Yeah.
So it is interesting that you gravitated towards the opposing roles at first.
Oh no! I lined up. I was offered both, and I lined up with A. I think immediately for me.
And what do you think was your draw for that?
I'd always kind of been a sports guy growing up, and he talks about playing games all the time in this play. He talks about training all the time. And that mindset of like the team is something I felt like I swam in college, and like it's so ingrained in me. So I knew this guy. Like I know what it means to train and get that camaraderie of like your team, you know? And yeah.
And so how do you begin to approach these mythic characters? Actually, let's talk about the setting because it's present. It's where is it set?
It's present day. It's in a sort of no man's land. Is wherever you are. There's only one reference in the entire play to any specific place, and it's the very last scene of the play. So it is contemporary in language and reference. There's talk of the internet and those kinds of things. The only classical reference will be in their armor. At some point when they go into battle, they will be wearing sort of traditional Greek armor.
And for people who are not at all or familiar or very vaguely familiar with any of these characters, like how would you describe them to someone on the outside who's forgetting everything they've read about Greek mythology?
Achilles' mother was a goddess, a sea nymph, if I remember correctly. Father was kind of basically was in his life for just a moment, but then left, so he was raised just by his mom. So, but then from a very young age, Achilles was raised to be a hero, and was his is the famous story where his mom held him by the ankle and dipped him in the river Styx to gain superhuman strength, godlike powers. And so his whole life he knows what he has to do. He is a warrior, and he's gonna save Greece. He's gonna save he's gonna win the Battle of Troy. And but he is I'll say that P is his sidekick, and
you would say
very very much it very much changes him. And the traditional way the myth goes is that P is killed by Hector, if I remember correctly. So I kill Hector and start slaying everyone I see just because it's in my blood. But it's the downfall of me. By going into battle, my Achilles heel is where my weak point is, and I believe Paris shoots a arrow
In
to
Achilles' heels.
my leg. The play, actually, there's a bit of a spin at the end. I won't spoil anything, but like definitely Achilles and Patroclus, his relationship. What they change each other. You know what I mean? That's what's beautiful about this piece too. Yeah.
That would be like their anniversary sort of gift. I said your name right.
Yeah, right.
I'm so sorry. I don't know.
We literally never say it.
Yeah, never say it because
which is
AP,
good.
it's true.
Yeah.
I think, so just to add on to that, I think the one thing, again, that's refreshing about this is that we're children, we're kids. You think of Achilles as this sort of battle-hardened monster who just unfortunately, I just see Brad Pitt. So, it's a bummer. But yeah, what's nice about this is we're just kids, you get us on the playground, you get our first meeting, and it's lovely. And, yeah. So, as far as... I don't have any previous, or any preconceptions to fight against like Achilles does. Everybody thinks they have an idea of Achilles. So to sort of, for me, bring life to this new character that no one's ever heard of is a real, real treat.
Yeah. So what? Really hard to think about. So where are the two? Where are the two in this piece, in this moment? Where are they?
We are training for the war, for the majority
in a playground.
Yeah.
We're literally. J.C. Lee just dropped us in purgatory.
Yeah.
We're in
and it's meant
decision.
To be that way, yeah.
It is. It's very deliberate. We are just in decision purgatory.
Mm-hmm. And then it's just this. We're observing this relationship, this back and forth.
But we know that war is on the horizon too. So.
And then there are references to that throughout.
Yeah.
Do we need any of the mythology or the backstory to be able to follow along with this story?
No, I think we give it to you. I think know. I think we say there's a battle, there's a game, there's some bad stuff, and I think if you don't have the impression, we haven't done our jobs. I think
that's perfect. Yes.
I guess, yeah. It actually would be really cool to see someone who didn't come in with a preconceived notion of they'd be like, this is a cool story you just told me for the first time, and then someone would be like, no, it's like a thing where this has existed for a long time.
Yeah.
Because I didn't get that opportunity. I don't know as far as Achilles.
I only knew the basic plot of the myth from what I had learned years ago. So it's really cool to, again, it's in modern times. So it's to hear, with modern speak, we mention our phones and stuff like that in the play, but it very much is this Greek myth. It's also there. So it could only help someone who watched it or had knew it when they watched the play, but it's not necessary, I would say.
Let's talk about the rehearsal process. What's going on in here, and how are you beginning to kind of unpack this piece and present it?
Yeah, man. It's 5 days a week, 6-hour rehearsals, and it is at least what we've done so far is scene by scene table work, and then getting it on its feet and blocking where we'll stand. And now we're getting to the point where lines are just about memorized. We're so close. And so now it's ironing out certain blocking that maybe made sense at first but doesn't now, or whatever it is, and it's just it's finally shaping into the play that it will be. It's it's really cool. Yeah.
We actually had a really great treat. It's the first time I've ever done this with a production, but it's something that I really have always dreamt about, which is we got to do our first table read in front of an audience, actually. Yes. Which was actually really, really, really informative, and kudos to Kevin also. Either Azuka or Kevin or whoever's idea it was. But yeah, it was really informative to sit in front of people for the first time you're reading this, with this guy across you, and have them breathe life into it. Because as actors, it's always what it is. An audience just inspires. It inspires us. It's inevitable. And so to find that from the first rehearsal really kind of gave us a match to go on, you know.
And what sort of feedback did you receive from that?
One gentleman came up to me, and all he said was just, it was actually about us.
Yeah.
And he just said, you guys read beautifully together. That was your first time reading it, and what we said was like, well, we read it earlier today, but essentially, yeah, I mean, it was the second time that we had ever read it together. Mm-hmm. And that one dude just came right up to us and said that. I was just like,
you guys were meant to read that.
I was like,
you were
wow.
meant to do that together.
Yeah, that's exactly what he said. You're right. You were meant to do it together.
So
that was really cool.
Hopefully, I won't let that guy down.
Yeah.
Thank you, Kevin.
So the audience and the press tend to impart sort of additional information on pretty much anything we experience in the theater. And have you thought about this any differently, or are you having different conversations in your mind when you walk out of rehearsal, when you walk away from this and kind of separate yourself from it, or any parts of what's going on today, or sort of conversations or relationships that you have today that are kind of calling back to this experience here?
Social repercussions and things?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it does deal a lot with manliness, the definition of that, and I think, I mean, now that's a constant conversation that's going around, you know, which is like just the statement, be a man. It's like that is just riddled in baggage and garbage, and it means so much. And I think for me it's always, because I'm the one, you know, who has to become more of a man, right? And it's this definition of what that is. And so I always try and be a really empathetic individual, but more so than ever, it has me looking at the people in my life and just saying, what is your journey, and how can I understand you better? And maybe we're not communicating effectively. How can I take a step back from my opinion to listen to you more actively? You know?
So you mentioned that PS become more of a man, but as we're here in 2018, those definitions are being challenged now. And so how does, now that you're on the other side of it, mm-hmm. with a little bit more understanding, does he need to rise to some sort of occasion? I mean, would he have to today?
Well, he puts himself in a life or death position, so it doesn't. There are very few instances that we in the real world get to sort of encounter that. But at the end of the day, I think the reality is, or the realization is, that it's not about these definitions or these pressures that society or our parents or ourselves put on each other, but much more about being honest and open and love, you know, engage, love, sympathize, care for, take care of. You know, our first meeting as children, Achilles asked me, how do you be a good person? And I say, well, it's putting others before you, you know? And it takes the wisdom of a child for that to really register, and it's not until the end of the play that I think P really does put that together, and that it's not about man or not man, it's about what I want to do for you, devoid of anything other than my care for you wanting to survive and help you and move you forward.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I was going to add to that, because I completely felt the same way about all of that, but also like the idea of like what our parents raise us to be, and then what is the force in your life that makes you finally think for yourself? And that resonates any year of any time. Do you know what I mean? Like, but it hits me especially. You know, I even said at the beginning, I had cold feet pursuing theater. You know what I mean? So it's like, when do you finally go, or what force in your life, was it a person or something happened that you're like, you know what? All of this that was laid out for me, I don't have to do it. You know what I mean? And I think that everyone feels that. Probably every day at some point.
Yeah.
You know?
Mm-hmm. And not necessarily through this piece, but have you defined the force in your life that encourages you to move forward?
Oh, Man,
Only because you brought it up.
for me, you know, it wasn't actually a person. It was a time in my life when I owned up to the fact that I wasn't happy doing what I was doing. And like that's kind of like, because especially if you put in work for something that you put years into, right? And then to go, you're like, I'm miserable.
Yeah.
Like you almost like have a chip on your shoulder. No, I'm not miserable. I'll just do it another year and I'll get better at it or something. It's like, no, what do I actually want to do in this world? Like every day. And for me, it was theater, it was acting.
Yeah.
And that's why I went back to school. And that's why I'm sitting in this room right now, you know? So, yeah, that was me.
I feel like the thought process of how to serve your country or be here for your country is different for us now than it would have been then. I don't know if it's because of the amount of distractions we have so much. Like there is somebody that you can look at and say, oh, you're not really busy compared to what you might consider busy.
Sure.
They have a different set of priorities, but in this, you know, time frame, that mindset of like we have to all be here for our country is, I think it's different than we have today.
And what P would say is, why? Like, make your own choice. And maybe that is your choice. And that is what I've gained, like, reading and living in this play. It's just, why? Why do you do anything? And if you're doing it, do it. But why, you know?
I read somewhere that P is described as a poet, a thinker, and a student. And I think that mindset is more artistic than anything. So I feel like all of us kind of can resonate more with P because of our career choice than A, in a sense.
Interesting. I agree that Patroclus was never into games. He was more into thinking. But it registers as very analytical, and I mean, so because we do weaponize ourselves a little bit in this piece. And Achilles' weapon is his body, and my weapon is my mind. And we are clashing against each other. We love each other, but we also clash. I think that's a very familiar sensation for many, many people. So I think the one fun reversal is, and maybe this is just Patroclus on this side looking over at the other side and being like, oh, the grass is greener. But Achilles has the really floral moments and recollections in language. I use language as a tool to manipulate or describe or, you know, visualize. But Achilles just sort of is so present in these moments that he just sees these images, and the truly poetic language lives there, you know, with like the world swallows eat stuff, and the dog. I mean, it's. I think you're rife with the poetic language, which is interesting.
Yeah, and one thing, I'm not spoiling anything.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
but he gains it. I've noticed through the play.
Yes.
It doesn't actually start that way. So it's like, what is this? Is this other person in his life actually making him think that way? And I've thought about that, and it's interesting. Yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah.
Are there any parts of this piece that either presented a challenge for either of you, or just made you really stop and think that you may have had a way forward originally, but now going through a particular scene or processing that moment differently, especially with the audience, or through this process that has kind of changed or challenged your way of thinking?
Ooh. With regards to the play,
yeah,
specifically, I mean that's every day with Kevin just saying, dude, you are doing it wrong. Like my friend, I appreciate what you just did. Let's work on it. And it's all. I promise you, it's a positive thing. But like, what is our joke? You don't know it's wrong until you do it. And then you tried something, and then we reel it in. We tried a different way, new intention, and that's the beauty of this rehearsal process. You know, it's wonderful.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm an actor, I guess, and like I love to indulge in the gross, not good feeling emotions, the sad ones, and that because I think for me that's partly because when I was younger I had a hard time really connecting and resonating with that. They were distant to me, and so as I've grown older, I've found an ability to connect with that, and I enjoy that. But like we talked about it today, Kevin. I have a tendency to indulge that. And the reality is there's so much joy because all these decisions are based in love. And I always preach this, but then, you practice what you preach. But it's following through with joy and love, and to not get bogged down in like, this is the sad moment, but like, this is the moment I'm fighting for everything I want in my life, and it's working, and I'm winning, and it's great. So to always stay above the muck.
Apparently Kevin's really good at this. He should probably run a company or something.
What an idea!
You ever thought about that, Kevin?
I'm too busy.
So I used to ask, what do you hope an audience takes away from this experience? But I've sort of strayed away from that, and I've replaced that with what presents a sense of urgency for you as an artist? Like, what inspires you to tackle to tackle such roles or to accept certain pieces?
Yeah.
Make them a part of your body of work.
All I'll say to that is that like each piece, whether you like it or not, you're bringing a piece of yourself to it, and what you are sharing with the audience is you. So, I mean, what do I hope to share? Just me living this life in that moment and telling that story. I mean, yeah, just that. Yeah.
It dawned on me a long time ago that people don't talk about things. Like, that maybe in this community, maybe in the theatrical community, like the world, not just like Philly, but like the world, there is a more open sort of exchange of ideas and realities. But by and large, if someone can come to a show that I've done and just have a thought to talk about something with someone at some point, if it inspires them to be more vulnerable, to be more receptive or open or listen or slightly shift their perspective or cement their perspective enough to make them speak out, then everything that I've sort of done as an artist lives forward, lives toward that.
Kevin, did we miss anything?
I don't think so. I mean, I love the play. I think it's gorgeous. I think it's really an Azuka sweet spot in that it, we give voice to the people whose stories go unheard, and that's Pete. He's the sort of the sidekick of the most famous warrior in history, and we get to hear his side of the story. I love the fact that it's the myth itself is always a little vague as to their relationship. They're very good friends, and in this, they're not very good friends. They're lovers. They're partners, and having that openness about this story gives it a perspective that I think is refreshing. And it, like James was just saying, it does give you pause. I mean, it's funny and it's smart, but it also talks about free will and destiny and life choices and how we make our way through the world. And it's so come and enjoy it, but it will absolutely give you something to talk about for the car ride home.
Yeah. So come be a part of the conversation. This is Warplay. It is written by J.C. Lee, directed by Kevin Glaccum. It's presented by Azuka Theater, and you can find out more information by going to Azuka Theater, and it's theaterre.org, and it is pay what you decide.
Every performance.
So all you have to do is make a reservation, and you should make more than one, because theater is more fun with a +1.
That's cute.
Gentlemen, thank you for being here on Rep Radio, and
thank
you for taking the time, Jeff and James and Kevin.
Thanks,
it was great to chat with you, and we'll see you in the theater.
Thanks.
Thanks.
See you.
All right. Rep Radio continues to be inspired by our community and listeners like you. You can support our work through our fiscal sponsor, Fractured Atlas, and through our Patreon page. Visit repradio.org/donate for more. Stay tuned. You know the rest.